Hey, what's up everybody, this is Tattoo Bud and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode we got yet another review, which is gonna be probably one of my favorite machines and maybe even one of the best machines that's out there on the market today. It's gonna be a review about the Yilong F3. It's in this box right here. It's an adjustable kind of pen machine that I've reviewed many times on my channel, like similar style machines, and today we get the chance to review this one, so let's go ahead and dive down and see what's inside the box. When you receive this package, you will find a box like this in your package. Now when you open it up, you're gonna find some parameters on the box saying it's a hollow cup motor, it's a 2000 milliampere battery, the output voltage is 4 to 12 volts, it puts out a current of 1.5 amperage, type C charging system, which is very common. I'm gonna explain a little bit about the buttons, which I'm gonna go to in a little bit, and of course the stroke adjustments. Except here you can only see it to 4.2, but this machine actually goes to 4.5, but I will show you that on the machine. Inside the box you will find this little thingy right here. If you have seen more videos on my channel, you will probably recognize this from some other brands as well, but we're not gonna talk about it. When you open it up, you will find your card with a couple of warranty instructions and some other things. You find a machine, an extra battery, which is very nice, and inside this box here is your charger cable. When you open it up, you can see it's just a cable. There's no spare parts or anything else like that, but actually you don't really need those. As you can see as well, you don't get a RCA adapter, which in my opinion you don't really need either, because you get two batteries. So if one of your battery dies, you can just switch over to the other one. Now also this battery life is pretty long. I've been tattooing a full day with this and a little bit on the next day, so like 1.5 days of tattooing, and then it actually died on me and I had to change the battery. Now let's take out the machine, because I am actually super happy about what they did with this machine. If we have a stroke adjustable kind of machine, there's always a couple of things I want to check. I want to see that if you adjust your stroke, if it clicks, and it does. It's very nice. Now also when you adjust your grip, I always want to make sure you don't randomly adjust your stroke. Now I did notice that like if your stroke is a little bit more on the lower side, it adjusts a little bit easy sometimes. But usually when I do a tattoo, I set it just to a certain stroke. And in this case I like to use it at the 4.5 because it's a lot more powerful and it's nice for traditional work that I do. And then I just tape it so I cannot adjust it. But I have to say, it doesn't adjust on you very easy. Now the battery comes off with a magnet. It's magnetic. You can put it on and put it off like so. Now there was a rubber band around here, but for me it feels like it made a little bit better contact without the rubber band, so I just took it off. The only thing what you're gonna get if you do that is that you can twist your battery around a lot easier, and if you have the rubber band it's a little bit more snug, so your stroke adjustments are a little bit easier to make if you just grab the back end of the machine basically. Well, I took off the rubber band, so I have to adjust it a little bit more like so. Also the grip is very nice, it clicks pretty good, it's nice and stiff, it's not gonna adjust on you while you're tattooing, and the same goes for the stroke. It's very stiff, but not that stiff that it's too hard to adjust, but it's not too loose that it's gonna be all over the place, which I had with a couple of other machines. So yeah, overall this thing is very nice built. and the looks of it are also pretty sexy in my opinion. I really like the design on this. honestly, I was expecting this machine to be a lot thicker, like the machine that I reviewed in the last video from Xnet, but it's actually a very comfortable size. It does feel a little bit heavier than it looks, but it's not heavy as in some other machines. This one is just very nice and comfortable to work with. It's a perfect size. It's not too thick, it's not too thin. Another really cool feature about this thing has a color display. Now, it's not that I care very much about color in my display, but it is a cool feature. You can see it's currently at 8 volts, and you see the little disc over here. Now, if it's not moving, it means your battery is not running. Now, if you press the fire button over here, you can see that wheel starts turning and the machine starts to run. As you can hear, it is very quiet and it barely even vibrates. Even at the long stroke, it doesn't really vibrate, and this was one of my main concerns when I did the Ambition Thorpe. At a higher stroke, it starts vibrating a lot more. But as you can hear, it's very quiet. It just gives like a little buzz, but it's not vibrating that much. And especially if you put the grip tape around, you can barely feel it. Now you can change it while it's running. Now this thing doesn't go lower than 2.3. I think some previous models that I've reviewed will go from 2.0 to 4.2. Now on this one they stayed a little bit at the higher end, so it's 2.3, which I honestly never really use. 2.7 I don't really use either. 3.2 I usually use when I want to do something black and gray that has to be really soft, or if I have to do maybe some super soft color blending, which I rarely do, but sometimes I do. Then I like to use it at 3.2. 3.8 would be more if I have to do like something with finer lines, smaller line work, like a 5-round liner, sometimes a 3-round liner, which could also go on the 3.2, but it depends of course on the tattoo that I do. But 3.8 is a good starting point for your lining. I think even with a 7-round liner it is still pretty nice. If you are going up in size, and maybe if you are a little bit more experienced, you want to use 4.2 or 4.5 for any needle grouping above the 7-round liner. Now I have used it around this a little bit, and actually the 4.5 is my favorite for everything. I like to do lining, I like to do my shading, and my color packing is absolutely amazing with the 4.5, because even if you turn the voltage down, which you can do with this button right here, even when you put the voltage all the way down, it goes as low as 4, I believe. Yep, it still gives you enough power to pack color. Now I used it a little bit faster. I used it around 5 volts at a 4.5 millimeter stroke, and that packs color absolutely beautiful, and it's really nice for your pepper shading and things like that. Because I generally like it if the frequency of the machine is a little bit lower when I do lining, color, basically for everything. I like to have a slower machine with a lot of power rather than a really fast machine with less power. But this is of course a personal preference. But this is what I really enjoy about this machine, and which I think that makes this machine stand out if you compare them to other stroke adjustable kind of machines. Now I think what might be a good plan, because it's all very basic, fire button, up and down. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a little bit of practice skin, get this thing ready to tattoo with, and we can talk a little bit more about this machine while we're tattooing, so stay tuned. Alright, so I have drawn on a little freehand traditional flower. Just gonna be to demonstrate a couple of things. What I'm gonna be using is an 11-round liner, a 3-round liner, and a 7 Magnum. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do pretty much all the outline with the 11-round liner. Now this is probably not ideal for the design, but I just want to show you how it works with a big liner, how it works with a small liner. So I'm going to use a 3-round liner as well to do some fine lines and maybe some shading. And we're going to do the majority of the shading with the 7 Magnum, just so I can showcase how this thing works. I'm going to use it for now on the 4.5 millimeter stroke. I might change it do a little bit of a shorter stroke when we do the fine lines. But for now, we're gonna start with the 11 round liner and let's fire it up. Now, this is effortless lining. I just want to show you what the difference makes. This is a 4.5. I'm gonna do an 11 round liner at 3.8. So it is a little bit of a shorter stroke. I'm pretty sure it still works. You're just gonna hear the difference in the sound most likely, so pay close attention. You hear that? You hear a lot more sound coming off, and it's a little less consistent. So I'm gonna switch back to the 4.5. So we done all of the bigger lines. Now I'm just gonna quickly clean it. I'm gonna add a couple of small lines with the 3 round liner, and I'm gonna use some pepper shading with the 3 round liner as well to do some of the shading. I think it's gonna be mainly in the flower, but another thing that's very convenient about having a stroke adjustable kind of machine is 3 round liners, or super tight 5 round liners that I always like to use, can be a little bit tricky. Now, why are they tricky? They are very easy to blow out in the skin. Now, on practice skin, this will not really change the way it looks or what it does. Now, if you are a beginner and you use a lot of small needles for lining, I would recommend to not use it at 4.5, but maybe use it somewhere around the 3.8 or the 3.2. Now, why is that? If you use a 3 round liner with a very large stroke, you kind of have to brush that line in and you have to stay really consistent in your hand. Now, if you have to kind of float with your needle, you're never gonna be super steady in your hand. You're always more steady if you can push a little bit harder, and it'll just make it easier on you. So even if you are tattooing for a long time, or if you're a beginner, this can be really helpful in getting like thin lines in a lot better. I'm just gonna show it. I'm using it now at 3.2 millimeters. So I'm gonna turn it on. I'm also gonna slow it down a little bit. I'm gonna use it at 8 volts instead of 8.5. I think it could probably be a little bit slower, but we'll see how it goes. I'm just gonna pull a little line in the leaf here, and yeah, just kind of follow the 2 points. So here we go, just push it a little bit. Boom. And as you can see, that's a pretty neat line, especially on practice skin where you cannot really stretch the skin. Let's do another one over here. I will just showcase, I'm gonna do it with the 4.2 millimeter stroke. So there you go. 3.8. Same thing from point to point. Pretty good. Now just to show you, I'm gonna do it at 4.5. Now on practice skin this doesn't make a lot of difference, but on real skin you want to be really careful if you do this. Just from this point. And you can probably hear that kind of sound. And that is basically the sound that you're going a little bit too deep. And you're kind of getting that skin hang up. Now, this practice skin is pretty tough, so it doesn't do a lot. If you use a thinner kind of practice skin, you will probably dig straight through it. And on real skin, you might do the same thing. So, you really have to be floating and stay very consistent throughout that line. You hear the difference in the sound from this one and this one? So if you are practicing, this is something you should also look out for. We're gonna do the shading with the liner. Set the voltage at 5.5 volts. And the reason I'm gonna do this with my liner is so we can keep the shading a little bit lighter inside the flower and not pack it so solid as what would happen with a magnum. So we're gonna go from here, and we want to create these dots. That's why I'm using it so slow. And we're just gonna do some whip shading. A little bit here and a little bit here. Let's see. And this is what I like when I use a higher stroke machine, is you get these dots and they are there. Now if I would use it, for example, this is the 2.3. Now it's also a lot faster, so I have to turn it down. So I'm now at 4.5. I will probably still get the dots, but they will be a lot softer. Let's find out. might be hard to see on the camera, but it's more like a super soft shading. So if you do a lot of work with a 3-round liner and you do your shading, your lining and everything with this, then this is a perfect machine. You just adjust the stroke, adjust your voltage, and you can do super nice liner shading as well. Now, just for the sake of this video, I will turn it back to the 4.5 because I like that better. Up the voltage a little bit. And go through with it. So this is the 7 mag by Dragon Pestle we're gonna put in. I'm gonna keep it at the same voltage because I kind of want to create that whip shading. And we're also gonna do some packing, which I always like to do at a really slow speed. We'll actually start doing that. I'm gonna keep a little highlight on the edge here, and I'll just pack the rest. So I'm pretty much just going back and forth. I'm making a little bit of circles, but more so back and forth. And you can see this machine has no trouble putting in that magnum. Go tied up the edges a little bit. You could do a line, you know, if you want to do this, you could do a line with your liner and then fill in the lines, but this is pretty easy as well. There you go. And then here I'm just gonna do some whip shading. Don't make it too dark. And I also want to keep just a little bit of a highlight here. You can shade it a little bit so you get that depth, but not too much. There. Now this one I want to make pretty dark as well. I'm just going to shade it from here first. And then actually pack this little bit right here. And I'm not changing anything in the stroke, I'm just using the same voltage, the same stroke for the packing and for the shading, which is really convenient for me. So I don't have to go back and forth the whole time. So you can see this machine actually performs really well. It packs very nice, especially with the higher stroke. It makes beautiful shading. It can do dot work. Pretty much everything you could ask from a machine, at least from my perspective. Now let's actually go back up top and let's talk a little bit more about this machine. So this was a review of the Yilong F3 pen machine. It's a adjustable stroke machine and I absolutely love this machine, just because it goes beyond the 4mm stroke. I've said it from the beginning. I just wish one of these machines one day will come out with a stroke that has a 4.5 or a 5.0mm stroke, and I'm so happy that this machine has it. The way it's built, it's super comfortable. It almost feels like this machine is made for me personally, because it just, I don't know, just straight out of the box when I start using it, it's just so comfortable and it does exactly what I want a tattoo machine to do. So yes, thank you Yilong for sending me this machine, because I am really happy with this. Now, as always, I always need to give some points of improvement, right? Otherwise this is not a fair review if I'm just gonna sugarcoat everything. Although it is really hard on this machine. The only thing I wish, if this machine would go to 5.0mm stroke. So if they make a new version of this machine, like the 4.3.1, F3.1, whatever they want to call it, make this go to 5mm. I think the range from 3.0 to 5mm is perfect for any tattooer. I'm not sure, maybe you can let me know in the comments who of you will use stroke below the 3.0mm stroke as a tattooer. Maybe for people who do really soft black and gray, or what I showcased with the 3-round liner. If you whip shade with that all day, you might want to use it at a lower range if you want to create more of a soft shading with a small needle. But for me personally, if it would go from 3.0 to 5.0, that would be perfect. Also, I think on the battery is really good. It lasts forever, but my power supply has an output of 2.0 amperage or 3.0. I'm not 100% sure. Now, if they would increase that on the battery, so the output would be maybe 2.0 instead of 1 or 1.5, I think that would also make a difference in the machine. It makes it a little bit more consistent and a little bit more punchy. But I'm not an electrician, I'm not an engineer, I'm not sure if that's even possible. But it's definitely something people could have a look into. Although with the 4.5mm stroke, it's already pretty punchy and you can get these lines in super smooth and super easy without any hesitation. Packing color, absolutely amazing with the 4.5. It really reminds me of the Ambition Thorpe, which this is basically the better version of that, because you can adjust the stroke a lot easier than on that machine, and it vibrates way less, and it's wireless, because I didn't get that one with a battery pack. So all in all, I am super happy with this machine. This is going to be my daily workhorse pretty much, because I really enjoy working with this, and the fact that you get 2 batteries so you can just switch them out when one of them runs out just makes everything even better. Now, I hope you learned something from this video and you enjoyed watching me review this lovely machine over here. If you do so, let me know in the comments what you think about this machine. I will link the store in the description down below so you can have a look at it on their website. And other than that, I just wish you a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.